Hey, NoelleTheFirst here. So my last video was a little bit somber, and so I decided this week to do a video that was a little bit more about how I'm trying to change my mindset to a more happy mindset, to a more positive mindset, and not focus so much on the negative. So if that interests you, stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, and like this video. So after last week's video, I felt very vulnerable and very exposed. It took me a while to upload that video. I was really questioning whether I wanted to. It felt very, very personal, but I think that's good. I think coming into the new year, I'm really gonna try to allow myself to just be uncomfortable, to push out of my comfort zone a little bit with these videos. And so, I got some nice responses to it, especially from a good friend of mine who is very supportive, and even from a stranger who admitted that she shares similar feelings of, insecurity. That said, I wanted to talk about some things I've been doing in the past few days to shift my mindset and get me into a more positive mental place. Now, I know for many people, they practice gratitude. They make a gratitude list at the end of the day, or sometimes, in the morning. And while I like this practice, I felt like I needed something that was just a little bit more my own, because sometimes when I'm thinking, oh, I should write a gratitude list, it feels a little bit like a homework assignment. It feels a little bit like, I will not talk in class, I will not talk in class. And so what I recognized is that my natural thoughts tend to be, why am I depressed, or why am I sad, right? Because there's a natural desire to sort of ruminate and problem solve and try to fix it. But since that was my natural tendency, I decided, what if I flip that? What if I just practice saying, why am I happy, right? And it doesn't have to be fake, right? It's just genuinely coming up with the reasons why I am happy. And for me, that really was effective. There are so many things to be grateful for, and you could argue it's the exact same thing, but for whatever reason, the language of that just felt a little more natural for myself. So I would recommend, if you're someone who, sometimes is dragging their ass to do self-helpy things, or can be a little bit cynical around what might be considered, woo-woo, or, as my friend calls it, the positivity police. I suggest just kind of changing the wording a little bit to fit you a little bit better and to feel a little bit more personal. And so for me, that was very effective. And it really felt like I genuinely was happy for, even little things, the feel of the sheets on my bed at night, going to try a new restaurant for dinner, feeling like the ab exercises I've been doing have been working and I can see a difference. So that was one thing that I did find to be extremely effective. The other thing was a trick that a new friend of mine, Sharon, hi Sharon, if you watch this, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but I thought it was such a fantastic bit of advice. And it was to take any of that that negative voice, and I have a lot of them. I think they're called ants, or automatic negative thoughts, and to kind of take that voice and put it onto the face of a bully in kind of a symbolic way. But for me, I made it quite literal. I took my high school bully. I had several of them, but there was one in particular. And anytime I found myself saying something really negative, and sometimes it's just like an automatic thing. You come out of like an awkward situation, or I come out of an awkward or embarrassing situation, and I find myself like almost mumbling to myself like, oh geez, I'm such an asshole. And it's like, that's not kind. That's really, really mean. That's not necessary. So now whenever I would find myself saying something so incredibly critical or negative about myself, I would imagine that my high school bully was saying that. And as Sharon said, kick him down the stairs, right? So I would kick him down the stairs or be like, fuck you, get out of here. And that's been a really interesting exercise, to do it both in those moments where I'm mumbling something negative, But even in those moments where I just have an impulse toward something super critical or depressing about myself, you know, I pretend that he's saying it and how the current version of me wouldn't put up with that. And so it's been amazing how effective that technique is. The other thing I've been doing is keeping my brain occupied, giving my brain a job to do so that it doesn't fall into these old habits of worrying or trying to problem solve. But the issue with problem solving is sort of setting forth a theorem that, you know, you're an asshole or you're a failure, like, and then having to problem solve that. It's like, well, first of all, the problem is with the the theory itself, right? So any kind of problem solving is not going to be specific enough in that situation. So when I find myself ruminating about things that I really either don't have any control over, or just kind of getting me into a depressive state and not resulting in anything productive or helpful, I give my brain a job to do. And I try to learn something new. Lately, my hobby and my habit has been practicing Korean on Duolingo and learning to read Korean, which is fascinating because I haven't learned to read an alphabet since I was 3 years old. So it definitely is something that really, really holds my focus and really occupies a lot of brain space. And in my mind, that it's a lot more useful to sort of pick up the skill of trying to learn a new language versus, you know, ruminating and worrying, which is not very helpful. The final thing I've been doing, I guess you could call it self-care, just, you know, doing things for myself that are going to make me feel good. I got a facial earlier this week, which was fantastic. You know, I let myself do a little shopping in the middle of the day because sometimes I guilt myself into thinking I need to be you know, working in the middle of the day, which is great, and I can be doing that, but I'm fortunate that I have a flexible schedule, and so I can also conceivably go shop for myself if I need to. I bought a new shirt. And along with that, things like trying a new restaurant. I love going out to eat. I love trying new things. And sometimes when I'm in a bit more of a sad sack kind of state, I've just fallen into a routine and I'm reluctant to try something new because, oh, if you try a new restaurant, maybe it's not going to be as good as your old standby. But the opposite may be true as well. Andrew and I tried this fantastic Indian restaurant that was amazing, and they had food that I had never tried before. And for me, that's also something that sort of wakes me up and gets me excited, is when I get to try something that I've never tried before. So newness and breaking out of routine. But that's just a number of things that I've been doing this week that I found to be so incredibly helpful. I would love to know any of your favorite tips or techniques for changing your mindset, especially if they're, you know, the quirkier, the better, I would say. So I'd love to hear it. So comment below if you have any to share. But if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you as a subscriber. And thanks so much.